Tulsa King begins with Dwight Manfredi being released from prison after he was incarcerated for 25 years. Dwight feels disillusioned about being a gangster because it stole 25 years from him and it ruined his relationships with his family and friends. Upon his release, he's being driven to the Manfredi household because that is the organization under which Dwight worked before his arrest. Even though the family is based in New York, they want Manfredi to start an operation in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It looks like they're trying to get rid of him. As a parting gift, Dwight knocks out a capo named Vince because he's disrespectful to him. This is a potential problem for Dwight, as Vince is a capo. Even though Dwight is one as well, this is probably over the line. When Dwight arrives in Tulsa, he is picked up by a cab driver named Tyson, who Dwight instantly likes, and he offers him a job to drive for him exclusively. When passing by a marijuana dispensary, Dwight makes Tyson pull over, and he goes inside. Dwight goes into the owner's office named Bodie, and he says he wants to look at his books. Because Bodie's business isn't cash, he has over $500,000 in the safe. Dwight offers him protection, but he wants to be a partner in his business, because Dwight says his company is at risk because the feds could confiscate Bodie's money even though his business is legal. It is legal, but it's still in a gray area where it isn't recognized federally, which causes issues with the banks. Now that they're partners after Dwight's coercion, Dwight takes some money from Bodie's safe. Bodie isn't happy about it, but there's nothing he can really do. He's running a cash business, and he's also a part-time hacker who steals Bitcoin from people, so he can't go to the cops. While Dwight is at the mall picking up a few things, a man named Armin Trucy sees him and instantly recognizes him. We learn that Armin was there the night Dwight ended up going to jail, and Armin thinks Dwight is there to take him out. Armin attempts to shoot Dwight when Dwight is taking a driver's test to earn his license. Dwight eventually learns that it was Armin who did this. He tracks Armin down at his work. Armin works at a ranch owned by Margaret Devereaux. Dwight and her meet when he's tailing Armin, and they have some chemistry together. When Dwight follows Armin to his home, Armin says that he was set up by Pete and he left New York 19 years ago because of it. Dwight accepts this, and he tells Armin that he works for him now. While out one night at a strip club, Dwight ends up beating up a man that was getting handsy with one of the girls. Stacy Beale, who was part of a bachelorette party at the club, notices Dwight, and they end up sleeping together. The next morning when she asks Dwight how old he is, he says 75, which blows her away because she thought he was 55 at most. Also the next morning, we learn that Stacy is part of the ATF. While in a meeting, she learns that the FBI has alerted their department to a new Mafia visitor in the area. It's Dwight Manfredi. Consorting with a known felon is a big problem for Stacy, who is almost to her pension, and she doesn't want to mess it up. Dwight wants to get more involved in Bodie's business as a partner. He buys him a new security camera, and he wants to talk to Bodie's supplier to get a better deal. We meet Bodie's supplier Jimmy and his security/family member named Badface. Dwight is able to strike a deal with Jimmy and get Bodie a discount on the product he's receiving. Because Vince is upset with Dwight because Dwight broke his jaw, Chicky calls Dwight and tells him that he owes Vince $100,000 to keep the peace, and Dwight says he'll send it. There is some definite tension here because it's clear Dwight doesn't want to do this. He feels like the Mafia family abandoned him and ruined his relationship with his real family. Chicky really wants Dwight to just go away, it seems like. Now that Dwight's out of prison, he keeps trying to contact his daughter to repair their relationship. She doesn't want anything to do with him, after he shut the family out after he was in prison for a few years. He calls her and he apologizes for quitting on her, but it's clear this isn't enough. Stacy and the ATF raid the home of a man who would rather blow himself up than be taken alive by the ATF. This man works for Colin Waltrip, the leader of a local biker gang. While on a routine visit to Bodie's, Dwight sees a lot of people paying $10 for nitrous, and he gets the idea of selling at the local fair. This is going to be a problem because Waltrip's gang already sees itself as the sole distributor of nitrous in the area. Even after learning about Dwight, Stacy continues to see him. She tells Dwight that she was demoted to Tulsa after she overreacted to Sully's landing in the Hudson. She thought it was 9/11 happening all over again. After revealing this, her and Dwight spend the night together against her better judgment. When Dwight's men go to sell nitrous at the fair, Waltrip's men beat them up and take their equipment. Dwight gathers everyone he knows, including Tyson's father, and they go to get their nitrous back and settle the score. They beat the bikers up and take it back. At this point, Dwight goes to New York to attend his brother's funeral and wake. Dwight sees his daughter Tina there, but it doesn't look like she wants to speak with him. Waltrip is plenty angry after Dwight's men beat up his crew and took their nitrous back. He gives Dwight's license plate to some crooked cops, and they pull Tyson over when Dwight is out of town, and they arrest him. When Tyson is in jail, he asks to go to the bathroom, and the cops make him unlock his phone for the privilege, so they can look through it. While Dwight is in New York, he speaks with his daughter, and she angrily tells him that when he went away, her mother didn't even have a check-in account. She goes on to say the only person to check in on them was Nico, the package. And one night when she was a child and her mother was working a double shift, Nico came over and she found out why he had that nickname. An enraged Dwight finds Nico and he beats Nico up to the point of killing him in front of Chicky and his crew over what he did to his daughter. Chicky talks with his father Pete about what Dwight did and wants to know what they should do with Dwight after the incident with Nico. Before Dwight visited Nico, he confronted Pete about the situation when Pete was in the hospital. Dwight told Pete that he failed to protect his family like he said he would, so Pete doesn't want anything to happen to Dwight. He even goes so far as to tell Chicky that if he was half the man Dwight was, this wouldn't have happened. You can tell that Chicky is seething with rage, because his father is abusive toward him and he's getting fed up with it. Dwight goes to Tina's flower shop and he tells her what he did to Nico. And Tina isn't happy about it because she says now she and her family are going to get retaliated against because they live in New York and Dwight is all the way in Tulsa. Bodie ends up getting raided by the FBI, and he thinks they confiscated all his money from the safe. But in fact, Dwight took out all the money because he thought the raid was going to happen. Back in New York, after parking his car one night, Tina's husband Emery gets jumped by Chicky, and Chicky breaks his arm as retaliation for Nico. While at Mitch's bar, one of Waltrip's men named Pike goes there and he begins shooting at the bar as a way to intimidate Dwight. But Dwight and Mitch go around the back and they flank him and take him out. After this incident, Mitch agrees to partner with Dwight, and they bury the body out in the woods. Pete's health is looking up after his video call with his doctor, who says he might live another 15 years. Chicky doesn't look particularly pleased about this news because he wants to take the family over and he wants his dad out of the way. At this same time, Waltrip is handed a box which was placed outside the gang's bar, and it has Pike's jacket in it. Now they know that Dwight took him out. This spooks Roxy, Pike's girlfriend, and she meets up with Stacy, the ATF agent, after this incident. Goody, one of Dwight's old friends from Pete's gang, visits him in Tulsa, and after the visit, he informs Pete that Dwight is his own man now, and he's growing his empire, and he won't be controllable much longer. Roxy tries to steal Waltrip's laptop, which he keeps his financial information on, so she can give it to Stacy, but Waltrip catches her in the act. He ends up strangling her, and this ends Stacy's insights into Waltrip's gang. Stacy learns the news when Roxy stops showing up to their meetings, and she doesn't return her calls. Dwight at this point is beginning to think big. He wants to open a casino at Mitch's bar. They are able to do this because it's on an Indian territory. Dwight estimates that they'll need $500,000 to grease the wheels on the application process. Dwight thinks that this will be a license to print money and also launder Bodie's income. We learn Bodie needs someone to launder his income after he reveals to Dwight that he steals Bitcoin and he has over $7 million of stolen funds. Chicky goes to see a local priest and he discusses his relationship with his father, and we learn why he is so resentful toward him. Chicky says that he just wanted to join the army and be a colonel, and Pete squandered his college fund and forced him into the family business. The next day, we see Chicky helping his father take a bath, and he drowns him in the bathtub, and he claims that it was a heart attack. The news filters its way to Dwight, and he informs them that he won't be able to go to the funeral. Dwight is building up his crew in preparation for a fight with Waltrip, and they are practicing with firearms and they're recruiting new members. Dwight is also keeping tabs on him, and Dwight and Tyson stake out the biker gang one day, and they see the cops that arrested Tyson go into the bar, so they know for sure Waltrip was behind Tyson's arrest. Waltrip tells the cops that he wants Dwight arrested so he can put him down in a jail cell. The ATF and FBI find out that Waltrip is worth over $8 million and has greater influence than they realized. Because of this, they raid the group's headquarters. Stacy meets with Dwight and she wants him to know that they raided Waltrip's this morning. She didn't get Waltrip, but there is now a warrant for his arrest, and Stacy wants Dwight to back off. Because Waltrip is getting desperate now, he's squeezed by Dwight, the ATF, and the FBI. He and an associate open fire on Stacy and Dwight, and Stacy is hit in the gut and injured. Flashback to Brooklyn, 1997, to the crime Dwight was arrested for. We see Chicky and Armand with someone named Ripple, who is handcuffed to a radiator. Chicky and Vince are torturing him because he hasn't paid his debts. Armand is not okay with this, so he calls Dwight for help. For some reason, Chicky has a brand with him, and he brands Ripple's face just as Dwight enters the apartment. The brand ends up starting a fire in the apartment, and they don't have the keys to Ripple's cuffs, so Dwight puts him out of his misery, because they aren't going to be able to get Ripple loose, and he doesn't want to let him burn. This is why Dwight went away for 25 years. Back to present day, Chicky is in Tulsa and he meets with Dwight. Dwight informs him that he's no longer working for him, and he's on his own now. Dwight realizes that because Bodie is a hacker, he might be able to hack Waltrip's accounts. Bodie is able to hack these accounts while the FBI is looking at it, and he steals $8 million, and this sends Waltrip over the edge. Dwight and his men look like they have prepared for this. They all get into position, and they even have booby traps set up. Waltrip and his men walk right into the trap. Dwight eventually fights Waltrip hand to hand after everyone else is taken out. Dwight unalives him, and now his group is done with Waltrip, but they still have to worry about Chicky in Season 2. Dwight also has other problems. In the final scene, we see Stacy leading Dwight outside, where he is arrested for bribing a federal agent. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.